I thought was fascinating was reading and listening to Jim Caviezel talk about his experience playing Christ in your film.
Yeah.
That it just truly changed the course of his whole life.
Well, it was fascinating to watch him work, actually. And most of the time, I just backed away because he was doing something that, and I've seen a lot of people portray Jesus in films, right? And I never buy it. You can't quite buy it. Something creeps in to color it that's not something's not right or discordant. And some of them are pretty good, but you never quite believe it all the way.
What was the Willem Dafoe movie?
Oh, that was a Scorsese film.
Right. What was that called?
The Last Temptation.
That's right.
Anyway, but what were we talking about?
Caviezel playing Christ.
He did something, I think, that nobody else did. And I think he pulled it off because I totally believed it.
I believed it too.
And it was what did he do? He emptied himself out.
Yeah.
And he invited something else in. And he left it. He didn't try anything. He emptied himself out and he meditated and he let Christ in.
And that role seemed to have had a profound effect on him.
It did.
As a human being.
Oh, absolutely.
And kind of him up in his career.
A little bit. Yeah.
Because people associated him entirely with that film, and then they associated him with Christianity, and then they associated him with right-wing politics, and
yeah. And then, he got sidetracked by a few guys. I mean, there's some people out there who they get in your ear, and it's like Cassius, talking to Brutus.
Right.
And they get you up to make a speech somewhere, and next thing you know, it's people throwing eggs at you. And it's and you wonder, should I even be saying this? And so he stepped on a bunch of landmines. But, it did have a profound effect on him. But I think he was already mostly there anyway. And I noticed that because when I was trying to cast it, I thought, who could play this? And I saw the opening shot from Terry Malick's film, which was The Thin Red Line. And it was just a big close-up of Caviezel. And there was something otherworldly and childlike going on there in the close-up. And I thought, who's that guy? He's amazing. Of course, you couldn't keep the blue eyes. You had to trade him out. So I changed the color of his eyes to brown and all that stuff, so it looked like he came from the region.
Right.
But amazing. What he already had a quality, an ethereal kind of otherworldliness, space cadet quality.
Yeah.
And he's still kind of like that. He's still like, wow. I wish I had met him, or I haven't met him still, but I wish I'd seen him before and then after. To see what did that role change him? Because it seemed to have strengthened his faith. Sure, it did. Yeah. He got in real tight with it, and I think he had some experiences while he was doing it. He suffered a little, and
didn't he get struck by lightning?
Well, there's 2 times there was these lightning strikes happening on the set, and there was this guy with him. He was a young fella, one of the assistants on the film. His name was Jan. And old Jan was he's 6'2", Italian, northern Italian guy, If he tripped in the street, women would slide under him, It was that kind of stuff. The guy was like a babe magnet, right? And I think he was taking full advantage of the gifts he had. But he got hit by lightning the first time, getting people. We were out on the hill and there was a lightning storm, with the crosses and stuff.
Oh, Jesus.
And this guy called Chieppo, he was a grip, and he never spoke a word to me the whole time. He's just a quiet kind of guy. And I figured, he doesn't know English, so, But he came up to me, and in perfect English, he said, I think you should get all the people off the hill. We could be struck by lightning. And I thought, that's a good idea. Let's get off the hill. So we're moving off the hill. Everybody's getting off. And this kid gets hit through the umbrella, this Jan guy. He gets zapped by lightning, right? But he's 22, and he goes to the disco all night and dance. He's doing the whole, 22 experience. And he comes back the next day, and he's like, yeah, it was great. And then he was with Jim the second time it happened. But this time, I found him in a Fiat Bambino with his knees up around his ears, like waiting for the third strike. He was like, this just doesn't happen twice in the third strike. And he says, I have to change my life. You know? He was like, so it was pretty
filming
funny.
that movie must have had a profound effect on a lot of people, right?
It did, yeah.
Because you were doing something that wasn't just a film. It was
verite kind of.
Yeah. And it was strengthening people's faith. That film was profound success, and a lot of people dismissed the idea of it even.
Yes.
You know, especially in Hollywood. I mean, you had to self-fund all that, right?
Yes, it was self-funded, and it was a very strange experience, that one, because I put the money in, and I thought, well, maybe I'll break even. And it was, then I got these messages back. All the majors wouldn't distribute it. So I was like, nobody will distribute it. Okay, I guess I've lost, the money, but it was worth the experience. And so one guy was left in the room at the end when the dust settled. It was some guy. He said, I'll distribute. And he had a little company called New Market, and they distributed like 1 or 2 films before. And I think it was a Charlize Theron movie called A Monster, about that horrible serial killer.
Yeah.
And he said, I'll do it. And, it was just really basics. I went and I met the exhibitors. And, and this guy was like the distributor. This little company, it was just him and a toothless dog and a fax and an assistant. And it was like, okay, what's all the smoke and mirrors about this between the distribution and exhibition? I made handshake deals with all the exhibitors. Yeah, we'll show this. I said, okay. And then we put it out there. And it went out. Nobody expected it to do much, but it did phenomenally well. And there was this kind of thing in the town. They said, did anyone just see that? Did anyone just see what that guy did? Can't let that guy do that again. And we don't want anyone doing that, because it sort of walked around the entire system.
Yes.
And scored.
Right. So there was 2 things. There was resistance to the Christianity aspect of it and promotion of Christianity. Mm-hmm. And then there was resistance to the fact that you went outside the system.
It was outside. Well, I had no alternative.
Right.
Because no major would back it.
Because of the Christianity aspect of it.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Rupert Murdoch said, he wanted to. And then he said, nah. And then somebody advised him and said he'd be out of business in 5 years. Rupert Murdoch.
Wow. One of the things that I thought in your film.
Yeah. This Jan guy. He gets zapped by lightning, right? But he's 22. And he goes.
The South African Communist Party has given the Trump administration 7 working days to furnish a response to the list of demands sent to his email address. Or what? Let me just speak momentarily to you, ANC people, you EFF people, and all you people in front of the U.S. Embassy.